What is happening, guys? Welcome to the video. So what you're going to see is some leg day footage from this Wednesday's leg session. So this is a morning session, which I've been doing a lot lately, and I was flipping back and forth over the weeks on if I wanted to keep trying to get legs done at night in the week, or if I was going to try and just go in the mornings to get it done, because typically all the other workouts I do around 7 a.m. So the last little while I've been doing legs in the morning without issue. So as long as I have a good sleep beforehand and consume enough food, I should be okay, and it seems to be going well. I know as we get deeper into prep, it might get a little bit more challenging to do, just because obviously food goes down, you got less fuel, but we're gonna try to ride it out as much as we can, because it's nice just being able to go home after work and not have to worry about training or anything like that, and just prepping food and relaxing, because by the end of the day I'm pretty fatigued, so it's nice to, like I said, just get everything done in the morning, and it's all out of the way. So like I said, you're seeing footage from today's session with my client Sarah. She's a bikini athlete, soon to be bikini athlete, competing in, I believe, 9 weeks for her. This weekend will be 11 weeks out for me, so we're 11 and a half weeks from show day, so I'm excited to see what happens. We did a high carb day yesterday, so not surprisingly, my weight was stable this week from that. Some people see a spike, some people see a decrease. For me, sometimes it's hit and miss. Sometimes my weight will spike up, just from like glycogen stores coming back up and that kind of stuff. But I was glad to see it stabilized midweek, because that means by end of the week it should be down, which is obviously the goal, to decrease body fat and see that scale go down. But anyways, guys, the topic I want to talk about is, obviously by the thumbnail of the video, and it's how I kind of transformed my body from 2019 to now. A lot of people have seen photos and been like, wow, like you've changed a lot. And I have photos from last prep to now, weighing a similar body weight and having a very, very pronounced visual difference. And I wanted to touch on that in this video, because I think there's some value in me actually verbalizing it versus just making posts on Instagram that are a little bit shorter and maybe lack context and that kind of stuff. So first off, I want to talk about food. So for me, guys, in the off season, so I finished competing last April and then started prep for this show in, I think, December or January, something like that. Yeah, beginning of December, I believe. Anyway, so I had a good chunk of time in the off season that I could really just focus on the long-term goal, and that's becoming a better bodybuilder, the best bodybuilder I can be. So maximizing your off season is obviously key. So when it came to food, my approach in the off season is just to really focus on getting a lot of food in. I don't track meticulously. I don't weigh things meticulously. I just really try to pay attention to my overall caloric intake and really try to get a lot of calories in. And I would say most of my calories would come from what the general population would call like clean foods, and then some calories maybe from not so clean foods. And honestly, in the off season, that's fine, and that's very normal. It's a very healthy approach to have some strictness and some, what's the word I'm looking for, like some rigidity to your nutrition, but then also having that freedom, right, to be able to go out with friends or family, or enjoy a meal without guilt and that kind of stuff, right? So I focused on eating a lot, making sure I had protein regularly throughout the day. I would say on average I was probably having 6 to 7 meals throughout the day, and making sure at least some source of protein with every meal, whether that was chicken, whether that was eggs, whether that was beef. Off season, obviously, switched it up, so I would have pork, turkey, obviously shakes and bars were in there as well, and then lots of carbs to fuel the workouts, and then fats just kind of came in where they were, whether it was from trace fats in the meats, or adding in eggs, avocado, coconut oil. You guys know, if you've been following me, coconut oil is a staple in my nutrition in prep and in the off season. So yeah, I just made sure I ate a lot. And the one thing that I will admit, those 2-bite brownies, those little 2-bite brownies, you can get at the grocery store, you can get them at Walmart and all that kind of stuff. Those things are my favorite. I'm a brownie, chocolate chip cookie guy. I will be for the rest of my life. And those 2-bite brownies, guys, with some vanilla ice cream, I probably had at least 2 or 3 times a week for sure. I would have that after dinner while we're watching TV. So To some that might sound ridiculous and sound crazy and stupid and blah, 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 blah. But honestly, for me, getting in the extra calories, getting in lots of food, lots of protein, lots of carbs, all that stuff, it was honestly what worked for me. I didn't overthink it. I didn't stress about it, and it got me results. Simple as that. Next subject, training. Training seems to be the one thing that people like neglect. They don't put as much effort into their training, which at the end of the day, guys, like training's the meat and potatoes of this whole thing, right? So when I approached training the off season, my goal was to just get really strong. I wanted to hit PRs. I wanted to get ridiculously strong for me, for my size. Obviously, there's people that are light years stronger than me, but for me, my goal was to, like I said, hit PRs and go to new places when it comes to strength that I'd never been. So notable numbers, I had benched like 335, I believe, or 330, repped out 315. I was deadlifting 515, 520, I believe, for reps. Just really hitting all-time strength levels for me, which I think is huge in the off season and in prep, right? In prep, obviously, keep fighting those numbers, but in the off season, when you have that big surplus of food and you're well fueled and you have good energy, hit those numbers, chase down hitting another rep or 5 more pounds on the bar. Like, just keep focusing on progressing and getting to new strength levels, getting to new standards for yourself, right? So another one that I'll mention is having good recovery when it comes to your training. I dabbled in 6 sessions a week for a little bit, but I wasn't a fan, in all honesty. 5 for me really seems to be the sweet spot, whether it's in prep or the off season. Just having those 2 days of recovery. So typically it's 3 days on, 1 day off, 2 days on, 1 day off, something to that effect, and making sure on those rest days that I am resting as much as I can, right? Trying not to tax my body, especially when I am trying to hit new numbers. You want to go into those sessions as fresh as you can and really maximize your time in the gym. So if you're someone who is very, very active outside of the gym, that can be a challenge. If bodybuilding is your goal, then maybe playing pickup sports a couple times a week or hiking a couple times a week, like those things will undoubtedly hinder you a bit, and it's a balancing act, right? Like those are life things that a lot of people enjoy doing. So it's just knowing your body and knowing what you can recover from and what's not going to take away from your training. So that's just something I want to touch on as well, is just training hard but also recovering really just as hard. And then some other stuff, guys, that I'll touch on is stress. Stress is huge. That's something that I've observed in myself over the years, but also now with coaching, seeing it in clients. It's very evident when clients are stressed, whether it's relationships, whether it's work, school, numerous things can come up and cause stress, and it's very evident when people check in and they have a watery look to their physique, or they mention their workouts maybe were subpar throughout the week. And getting control of your stress is huge, guys. Not letting things bother you that you can't control, and just mentally being in a good spot as best you can. I know life happens and shit gets tough sometimes, but it's honestly having a perspective that things probably aren't that bad, and it'll pass. This too shall pass, as they say, and just having a good outlook on life. Focusing on the goal is another thing that I was very much in tune with in the off season. Previous off seasons before, I've struggled with, just because on prep you have that constant, every week you're checking in, every week you're seeing like visual changes, and you're getting closer and closer to show day or whatever, and it's always been a struggle for me up until this past year. I can honestly say that one prep or one off season I had done a powerlifting meet because I wanted something to focus on, something to do, and I struggled in the off season with just thinking long term and having this period of time to develop my physique, which for us natural competitors in the off season, like not a lot changes. Like you get a little bit fluffier, you're gonna see numbers in the gym go up, but it's not as exciting as getting more vascular and seeing more cuts in your physique when you're prepping. So for me, it was just really recognizing what this period of time is for, staying focused on my long-term goal, whether that be turning pro, whether that be competing at a very high level, whatever it may be specific to you, is focusing on that and keeping that at the forefront. Every workout, just kind of reminding yourself why you're doing this and that it'll pay off in the long term. What else did I have? Oh, putting aesthetics aside. I had that written down as well. That's a big one for people, especially coming out of a contest prep when you're arguably probably in the best shape of your life. You know, you're getting admiration through friends and family or whatever, people on social media saying, "Wow, you look incredible. Look how far you've come. Look how much weight you've lost," or whatever it is. You look amazing. That's a gives people a high. It makes you feel good, and as it should, right? You've worked very hard, and you've kind of earned those compliments. But in the off season, you don't get that really anymore. Very rarely do you get someone commenting, "Hey, you look amazing," when the abs are gone and the veins have disappeared and all that stuff. So, for me, it's a point in the off season to put aesthetics aside and focus on progress in the gym. I'm strong. I feel good. That kind of stuff is important to think about in the off season, because if not, it can be very stressful for people, and people can kind of start going into dieting phases and cut their prep or cut their off seasons off short, which is not ideal, and just getting in a poor position to make progress. So, putting aesthetics aside, and that can be something as simple as wearing loose fitting clothing in the gym and just not looking at yourself in the mirror. Like, all these little things add up, and they can mess with your head, which can then go back to what we talked about earlier with stress. So it's just keeping yourself in check and remaining focused and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I hope this provided you guys some insight, with how I went from my look in 2019 to my look now in 2020. I'm happy with the progress I made, and I assure you it was not by accident. I didn't make the progress that I did haphazardly. There was structure, there was programming, all these little things that added up to the then finished product, which is never finished, in all honesty. So if you're somebody in the off season, if you're somebody looking forward to making progress and stuff, then I hope you guys got something out of this video, because I've been there where you're having periods of your training or whatever, and you just feel like you're spinning your wheels and potentially not getting somewhere, and it can be hard to figure out what works for you, but it takes time to practice. I've now been competing for 5 years, been training well over 10, so I'm not new to this, guys. And if you've only been training for a year, or you've only competed in your first show and you're looking forward and trying to figure out what to do, then don't stress about it. You'll figure it out, and you just have to be patient and have to give it time. So again, subscribe. Hope you guys liked the video, and I'll see you guys in the next one.